The smell of burning paper filled my parents' living room. My daughter Olivia looked shocked as she stared at the fireplace. Bright orange flames were quickly turning an important paper into ashes. Oops, my 12-year-old niece Chloe said with a smirk. Daddy says you don't deserve success anyway. People like you should stay in their place. I stayed calm even though I felt upset inside. Chloe, I asked softly, what did you just burn? She shrugged her shoulders. That silly paper you were showing everyone. Your business paper or whatever. Just then, my brother Daniel walked out of the kitchen. Instead of being upset with Chloe, he laughed. It was just some paperwork, he said. Print another copy. Chloe is only a kid. Olivia looked like she might cry. That was the original contract, she whispered. The signed original contract for the Henderson account. My mother looked up from her knitting. You shouldn't have been showing it around, she said. Daniel is right. Just print another one. It had the real signatures on it, I explained quietly. It was the official copy. Daniel waved his hand like it was no big deal. Then get them to sign another one. Why are you making such a big deal out of this? You're always talking about your little business. My father nodded. You've been acting very proud lately because of that business. Making another copy shouldn't be hard. I looked at Olivia. Tears were filling her eyes. She had worked for 3 whole months on the Henderson project. She stayed up late many nights. She checked every detail again and again. This was the first big client she had brought to our company since she started working with me. Chloe, I said, do you understand what you destroyed? She shrugged again. Daddy says you act like you're better than everyone else. He says somebody needs to bring you back to reality. Daniel put his arm around Chloe. Stop questioning my daughter, he said. You brought work papers to a family dinner. That's your fault. A few moments later, my sister-in-law Rebecca walked into the room. What's going on? She asked. Chloe burned Victoria's work papers, my mother answered. And now Victoria is making a scene. Rebecca shrugged. Kids do things like that. Daniel laughed. $1 million contract? Really? If you were making deals worth that much money, you wouldn't be driving that old Honda. I smiled slightly. My Honda works just fine. Because you can't afford anything better, Rebecca said. You've always made your accomplishments sound bigger than they are. I took a deep breath. I was helping a technology company as a financial consultant. Rebecca rolled her eyes. Sure you were. My father put down his newspaper. Your brother has a point, he said. You've always had big dreams. There is nothing wrong with running a small business, but pretending it is bigger than it really is only makes you look foolish. I stood up. Olivia, let's go. Daniel laughed again. Running away? Chloe giggled. Bye, Aunt Victoria. Sorry about your fake contract. Olivia and I left without saying another word. When we got into the car, Olivia finally burst into tears. Mom, that was months of work. We may never get that contract back. I gently held her hand. I know, sweetheart. The client probably won't want to do all the paperwork again. I nodded. You're right. Then I picked up my phone. Give me a minute. I made a few calls. Olivia watched me quietly while I spoke. When I finished, she looked confused. Mom, what did you do? I started the car. I made sure your hard work won't be forgotten. The drive home was quiet. Olivia had many questions, but she knew I would explain later. The next morning, my phone rang at 6 o'clock. It was Daniel. What did you do? He shouted. Good morning to you too. This isn't funny. Rebecca's credit cards stopped working. All of them. She was at the grocery store and couldn't pay for anything. I stayed calm. I'm sorry to hear that. Fix it right now. No. There was silence for a second. You're doing this because Chloe burned your paper. I didn't freeze anybody's cards. Then why is this happening? Maybe the bank made a decision. Daniel became even angrier. You're going to regret this. He hung up. A little later, my mother called. Victoria, Daniel says you froze their credit cards. The bank made its own decision. This is too much. Chloe is just a child. Chloe destroyed an important contract that caused serious financial damage. You're punishing Daniel and Rebecca for what a child did. I sighed. I'm making sure people understand that actions have consequences. My mother sounded disappointed. You've always held grudges. Soon after that, my father called too. You need to fix this. Fix what? Daniel's financial problems. Family members shouldn't hurt each other. I answered calmly. Family members shouldn't destroy important contracts either. Chloe didn't know any better. She repeated exactly what Daniel told her. My father became quiet. Then he said, even so, this has gone too far. I didn't answer. Around lunchtime, Daniel called again. This time he sounded scared instead of angry. Victoria, we got a letter from the bank. What does it say? They want us to pay the entire mortgage. I stayed silent. We've never missed a payment, he continued. They're saying we have to pay everything within 30 days. How much do you owe? $240,000. His voice shook. We don't have that kind of money. I listened quietly. Victoria, he said, you know people in banking. Can you help us? I could. Then please help. I paused. Why should I? There was a long silence. Finally he spoke. This is because of what happened at dinner, isn't it? Yes. Victoria, I'm sorry. It was the first real apology I had heard. Chloe shouldn't have burned the contract. I shouldn't have laughed. I waited. But this is our home we're talking about. And that was my daughter's future we were talking about. Daniel sighed. It was just paper. I shook my head, even though he couldn't see me. No. It was months of hard work. Please. The client already moved on, I told him. They chose another company this morning. His voice cracked. We'll pay for a lawyer. We'll help fix it. You can't bring back a lost opportunity. We'll pay you. With what money? He had no answer. A moment later he whispered, Chloe needs a home. I answered softly. Olivia needed respect. Daniel didn't say anything. Finally he hung up. That afternoon my mother called again. Your brother is falling apart. I listened. Chloe has been crying all day. I stayed quiet. Rebecca is having panic attacks. I'm sorry to hear that. Then stop this. Stop what? You know exactly what. I looked out the window. Mom, do you know what hurt Olivia the most? What? It wasn't the contract. My mother didn't speak. It was hearing everyone laugh at her hard work. I could hear her breathing on the phone. She spent months working on that project. I know. No, Mom. I don't think you do. I continued. When Chloe burned that contract, nobody cared about Olivia's feelings. My mother finally spoke. We didn't think about it that way. Exactly. Exactly. For a few moments neither of us said anything. Then she asked quietly, Olivia was really that hurt? Yes. My mother's voice became softer. I didn't realize. Nobody did. That evening Olivia came into my office. She sat down across from me. Mom. Yes. Are you okay? I smiled. I am. She thought for a moment. Do you think Uncle Daniel understands now? I leaned back in my chair. I think he's starting to. Olivia nodded. I don't want anything bad to happen to Chloe. I know. She made a bad choice. Yes. Olivia looked down. But she learned it from adults. I stared at her for a moment. Sometimes children understand things better than grown-ups. You're right, I said. Olivia smiled. I just wanted someone to understand how much that contract meant. I reached across the desk and squeezed her hand. I understand. The next morning, another phone call came. This time it was Daniel again. His voice sounded very different. He wasn't angry. He wasn't yelling. He sounded tired. Victoria. Yes. I talked to Chloe. I listened. She admitted that she burned the contract on purpose. I wasn't surprised. She said she thought you deserved it because of things I told her. For the first time, Daniel sounded ashamed. I never realized she was listening so closely. Children always listen. He sighed heavily. I was wrong. I stayed quiet. I spent years making jokes about your business. Yes, you did. I told myself it was harmless. It wasn't. I see that now. For a moment neither of us spoke. Then Daniel said something I never expected. I owe Olivia an apology. Yes, you do. And I owe you one too. I looked out the window at the morning sunlight. The road ahead would not be easy for Daniel and his family. But at least now he understood something important. Words matter. Actions matter. Children learn from what adults say. And when people treat someone else's hard work like it means nothing, they should not be surprised when there are consequences. Sometimes the biggest lesson is not about money. It is about respect. And that was a lesson Daniel, Rebecca, and Chloe would never forget. That evening, Olivia looked at me with worry on her face. Are you really going to take their house? She asked softly. I sat quietly for a moment before answering. I haven't decided yet, I said. Across the room, Uncle Daniel looked nervous and scared. Chloe is afraid we will lose our home, he said. I looked at him seriously. Chloe should have thought about what could happen before she burned Olivia's contract, I replied. She is 12 years old. She is old enough to understand that destroying important papers is wrong. And honestly, Daniel, you are an adult. You should have known much better. Daniel lowered his head. What is going to happen tomorrow? He asked. You will receive a letter with 2 choices, I explained. The first choice is to pay the full amount you owe within 30 days. The second choice is to agree to some new terms. Daniel frowned. What kind of terms? That depends on how willing you are to admit what happened and take responsibility for it. It also depends on how serious Chloe's actions were and how much you encouraged her. Daniel swallowed hard. So you want accountability? Exactly, I answered. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house. As soon as I arrived, I could see everyone waiting outside in the driveway. Daniel was there. Rebecca was there. Chloe was there. My parents were standing together near the garage. Even my younger sister had driven 2 hours to be there. The air felt heavy and uncomfortable. Nobody was smiling. Everyone looked worried. Daniel stepped forward first. In his hand was the letter I had sent him. His hand shook slightly. It says here that our mortgage is owned by L.M. Thompson Holdings, he said. Then he looked directly at me. That's you, isn't it? I nodded. Yes. Daniel blinked. LM means Victoria Marie? That's right. His eyes grew wide. You own our mortgage? Yes, I answered calmly. I own the company that owns your mortgage. It also owns hundreds of other mortgages that came with a business purchase I made 18 months ago. Rebecca suddenly looked pale. Her face lost all its color. How long have you owned it? She asked. About a year and a half. She stared at me. You've owned our mortgage all this time and never told us? I shrugged. Why would I? It was simply a business investment. Another company handles all the payments and communication. I rarely look at individual accounts. Daniel laughed bitterly. Until now. I nodded. Until now. Then I looked directly at him. When you encouraged your daughter to destroy Olivia's contract and mocked our work in front of everyone, you made it personal. Nobody said anything. The silence felt very long. Then my father stepped forward. Victoria, he said. This has gone far enough. The family doesn't do things like this. Family works out problems. The family doesn't use money against each other. I looked at him carefully. You're right, Dad. The family shouldn't do this. For a moment, everyone looked relieved. But then I continued speaking. Family also shouldn't destroy another person's hard work because of jealousy. Everyone became quiet again. Family shouldn't make fun of another person's success. My voice became firmer. Family shouldn't teach children to hurt someone else's work because they can't handle seeing that person succeed. Nobody could argue with that. That's exactly what happened in your living room 2 nights ago, I said. Olivia and I were treated terribly, and almost nobody stood up for us. Chloe suddenly began crying. The confident smile she had worn before was completely gone. I'm sorry, Aunt Victoria, she said through tears. I looked at her. I didn't know it was real, she continued. I didn't know it was important. I spoke gently. Why didn't you think it was important? Chloe wiped her eyes. Daddy always said you were showing off. He said you acted more important than you really were. He said you made up stories about your business. Everyone looked at Daniel. Chloe looked down. I believed him. I knelt down slightly so I could speak to her kindly. What do you think now? More tears rolled down her cheeks. I think Daddy was wrong. Her voice shook. And I think I was wrong too. I'm really sorry. This time her apology felt honest. She truly understood. Daniel placed a hand on her shoulder. Don't blame Chloe for everything, he said. His eyes were wet too. I was wrong. He took a deep breath. I was jealous of you, Victoria. The words surprised everyone. You've always been successful. Every time the family talked about achievements, your name came up. I felt like I was always standing in your shadow. He shook his head sadly. When Chloe burned the contract, part of me was happy. The family looked shocked. Daniel continued. I wanted to see you fail. I wanted to see you get knocked down a little. He wiped his eyes. It was ugly. It was selfish. It was cruel. His voice cracked. I'm sorry. Then he looked directly at me. I'm truly sorry. I studied his face carefully. Are you sorry because what happened was wrong? I asked. Or are you sorry because there are consequences now? Daniel answered immediately. Both. He sighed heavily. I'm sorry for teaching Chloe bad values. I'm sorry for making fun of your success. I'm sorry for acting like your work didn't matter. Then he looked toward Olivia. And I'm sorry for disrespecting Olivia too. He folded his hands together. Please, Victoria. We'll do whatever you ask. His voice sounded desperate. We'll apologize. We'll repay Olivia for the money she lost. We'll explain everything to Chloe. Then he looked at me with fear in his eyes. Please don't take our house. Chloe started crying harder. Daniel put his arm around her. Please don't make my daughter lose her home because of my mistakes. I looked over at Olivia. She quietly nodded. Then I turned back to Daniel. The letter explains your options. Everyone listened carefully. You can pay everything within 30 days, or you can agree to modified terms. Daniel nodded. What are the modified terms? I answered slowly. First, you must write a formal apology to Olivia. Daniel agreed. Second, you must create a payment plan to repay the money Olivia lost because of the destroyed contract. Again, Daniel nodded. Third, Chloe must attend financial counseling classes. Chloe looked surprised. What are those? She asked. They are classes that teach people how money, business, and responsibility work, I explained. You need to learn what happens when property is destroyed and how bad decisions can affect other people. Rebecca quickly wiped away her tears. We accept, she said. Whatever the terms are, we accept them. I nodded. There's one more condition. Everyone looked at me. I turned toward Daniel. You are going to call the Henderson Group yourself. Daniel blinked. What? You are going to explain exactly what happened. You are going to tell them your daughter destroyed Olivia's contract because of poor judgment. Daniel looked embarrassed. You are also going to tell them how talented, professional, and hardworking Olivia is. Olivia looked surprised. And then, I continued, you are going to ask them to give Olivia another chance. Daniel sighed. They already hired someone else. Then convince them to hire Olivia for another project. Daniel stared at me. Use every business connection you have. What if I can't? He asked quietly. I answered firmly. Then the original terms remain. The driveway became silent. You will need to pay everything within 30 days. Daniel understood immediately. And if we can't? Foreclosure begins on day 31. Daniel slowly nodded. The seriousness of the situation was finally clear. I'll do it, he promised. His voice was determined. I'll call every contact I know. I'll work as hard as I can. My mother looked shocked. Victoria, this seems extreme. I shook my head. No. Then I looked around at everyone. Chloe needs to learn that actions have consequences. I pointed gently toward Daniel. Daniel needs to learn that putting other people down will never make him more successful. Then I looked at the whole family. And everyone here needs to understand something. They listened carefully. My success is real. I pointed toward Olivia. Olivia's success is real too. I continued. Our work matters. We work very hard. We deserve respect. Nobody argued. And from now on, neither of us will allow people to treat our accomplishments like they don't matter. 3 weeks later, my phone rang. It was Daniel. His voice sounded different. Calmer. I got Olivia a meeting with Henderson, he said. I smiled. Really? Yes. He sounded proud. They are considering her for a different project worth $600,000. That's wonderful. Daniel laughed softly. I told them she was one of the best people in the business. Then he became serious. And for once I truly meant it. I stayed quiet. I was wrong, Victoria, he continued. About Olivia. About you. About many things. I know, I said. There was a short silence. Then Daniel asked the question that mattered most. Are we okay now? As a family? I smiled. We're getting there. Then I added gently. Just keep doing the right thing. A few days later, Chloe mailed Olivia a handwritten letter. The letter contained a sincere apology. She explained everything she had learned in her counseling classes. She wrote about responsibility. She wrote about respect. She wrote about how one bad choice could hurt many people. Olivia was touched by the letter. She framed it and hung it on the wall in her office. My parents still didn't fully understand every detail of what had happened. But something had changed. They were more careful now. They listened more. They judged less. One day, my mother even asked me questions about my business. Real questions. Not rude comments. Not jokes. She genuinely wanted to understand. That meant a lot to me. As for the mortgage, I kept my promise. I modified the terms. Daniel and Rebecca now make every payment on time. They know exactly what is at stake. And every time Chloe visits, she asks Olivia about her newest projects and contracts. She listens carefully. She asks thoughtful questions. Most importantly, she shows respect. The teasing and mockery are gone. In their place is understanding. Sometimes people do not realize how important something is until they come close to losing it. And sometimes difficult lessons are the ones that teach us the most about respect, responsibility, family, and what truly matters in life.
अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं जो दिन सहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा बेसर्द लगता है दिल का हर एक कोना अब बहुत ही दूर भरता है अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं ये जो दिन सुहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा सर्द लगता है दिल का हर एक कोना बहुत ही दर्द भरता है मेरे साए भी मुझसे अब जुदा होने को कहते हैं तुझे खोने की राहों में ये आंसू बहने लगते हैं कहाँ जाऊं कहाँ ढूंढूं मेरा वो साजो सामा तो मेरी हर एक तमन्ना तू मेरी रूह का मका तू लकीरों में नहीं लिखा जो तुमने ख्वाब देखा था वफा की इस कहानी में फकत एक गम ही लिखा था। सितारों से भी पूछता है पता तेरा कहाँ होगा, मगर खामोश है दुनिया, कहाँ मेरा जहाँ होगा। बस एक बार मुड़ के देख ले मेरी बेबसी की सूरत। मुझे है आज भी तेरी वफा की सख्त जरूरत। साए मेरे तन्हा सफर बस रह गया दर्द का असर। साए मेरे तन्हा सफर बस रह गया दर्द का असर।